Hi guys, and welcome to Thankful Thursdays. So as usual, you've got me, Kel, and Rachel isn't making videos at the moment, but hopefully we'll be back in the near future. So before I get started, I'm just going to let you guys know that I'm actually making this video. It's now 8:30 in the evening and it's been a long day, so hopefully I can make this make sense, but I'm quite tired. So the topic that we're looking at today is the importance of becoming a unique individual apart from the eating disorder and redefining yourself in a social context. So I think this actually, firstly, it's quite a difficult thing for me to make suggestions or say things I can imagine being especially useful to you guys, because as is the title of this, finding out who you are as a person in terms of your recovery is a very unique thing. But I think a lot of us will relate to the problem of feeling like our eating disorder is our identity, and feeling an anxiety about giving up our eating disorder because of that, because of a fear of if we give up our eating disorder, then who are we, what's left of us. And I think that problem with this kind of stems from the eating disorder behaviours causing us to become quite isolated, because people don't know how to be around us, don't know how to deal with it. And so we become more isolated, which allows us to become more entrenched in our eating disorder, which means it takes over more of our person, and so we're kind of in a cycle in the sense of losing ourselves to our eating disorder. But you can find yourself again and kind of learn who you are. And I think for many of us, our eating disorder developed during a time when most people would have been kind of finding out who we are. So it's not a case of exploring your identity being an unusual thing to do. It's entirely normal. It's just that those of us with an eating disorder tend to get to that process perhaps a little bit later, because we have to go through and kind of reach some level of recovery before we start to do that. But learning who you are as a person, separate from your eating disorder, is really important in terms of your recovery and in terms of being able to let go of your eating disorder. Because if you've had an eating disorder for years, that is all you know, and you probably don't have many social situations that you take part in. You haven't really learned to know yourself, your traits, your characteristics as a person, and perhaps other people don't as well. They probably see your behaviours and your anxieties around food and things, and don't really know you unless they've known you prior to your eating disorder in any capacity other than that. I think what I can tell you guys is that just as it would be for anybody else learning to find out who they are at age, 14, 15, 16, it's a lot about trial and error and just exploring things, and it does mean taking risks and challenging yourself and putting yourself out there. And those things are stressful and those things can go wrong sometimes, but you absolutely have to do them and have to face them, and you will make mistakes. You will find yourself in a situation you feel really uncomfortable with at times, but you'll also learn things that you really like, and you'll learn who you really are as a person, what your values and beliefs are. And these are, really fundamental things, and developing these things, I think, to me, has been kind of a good safety to stop me from falling back to my eating disorder, because I developed such an understanding of myself and how I think and who I am as a person. I think that stops me from relapsing back into my eating disorder now, because I'm kind of too far into recovered. I don't have many of the things that allowed me to develop my eating disorder, so not knowing who I was and lacking in self-confidence and things like that. And you will build confidence and become more comfortable in your skin as you learn who you are. I think all you can do is try new activities, meet new people, and kind of hope for the best. That's really important. I always hope for the best but prepare for the worst, without having too much anxiety about what the worst might be, but to be prepared for it in case it does happen. So I always have an out. I can always ring somebody, go home, get out somewhere if I'm not comfortable. A good place to start for me was to think back to where I was before my eating disorder. What did I used to like? What did I used to be like as a person, and kind of start there. And in many ways I found out I was still the same, and in many ways I found out I didn't like the same things too. For example, I was as a child, a young child, a very sensitive child. I was very sensitive to things, and be that literal physical things and also emotional things. And as I recovered, I've kind of found I am still, without my eating disorder, I am still a sensitive person, and I've learned to kind of embrace that and accept that, and I don't see that as a bad thing in the way that I'm imagining lots of you thinking, oh no, sensitive is very weak and vulnerable. It's not like that at all. And I also really like dance. I'm not able to dance because of my osteoporosis, it wouldn't be safe, but I'm able to enjoy that in other ways. But otherwise, I also have had friends I was friends with as a teenager that now I've come through my eating disorder and developed more as a person myself. I don't mesh with those people as well as I used to, and that's totally fine. People move on. Most people have a couple of friends from their teenage years, but we move on as we find out who we are, and that's fine. Another way to kind of help you explore who you are as a person is to talk to those people around you, and they generally have a better idea than you might. I know lots of people around me kind of see me as a bit strange and quirky, and they're definitely aware of me being quite sensitive, and at first I thought they were bad things. I thought my sensitivity was a bad thing, and I thought being what people call quirky or weird a bad thing. And as I heard people around me be affectionate towards those traits in me, and I kind of quite like them and see them as really important to who I was, I learned to be more comfortable with the fact that that is part of me. And as I became more comfortable with it, they kind of all fell into place, and some traits became more of me than I was perhaps aware of. So I am kind of a bit more, I do odd things, and I can be a bit quirky and sarcastic, and quite often you'll find my friends like, what is Kel doing? And I am just comfortable with that now because my friends were kind of positive about that. I learned to be more comfortable about being that person, and it allowed it to develop. So I think that's really important. So why is it so important to acknowledge and to find your unique self in recovery? I think the reason it's so important is because many of us with eating disorders judge ourselves by a box that we think people should be. This is how we think people should be, or this is how we think people perceive that we should be. And I find now that I can remind myself, Kel, it's okay, everybody's different. If you're not good at that, that's fine. Or if you do something wrong, do you know what? Everybody makes mistakes. It's okay, you don't have to be good at the same thing as everybody else. And I think that that's really important as well, and it can kind of take some of the pressure off. So I think I must have been talking for close to 10 minutes now, so I'm going to leave it there. I hope you're all having a great week. Maybe you can take some risks this week and try and figure out a new activity that you enjoy that you can spend some time doing, or maybe not, but if you do let me know. And I'll be back next week, guys. Take care till then. Bye.